What if I told you that the men women become addicted to aren't the richest, the tallest, or even the most attractive? They're the ones who possess something far rarer, an internal power most men overlook. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden psychology behind female obsession and why some men live rent-free in a woman's mind forever. 1. It begins with energy, not accomplishments. The truth is brutal. Women don't fall in love with your job title. They don't get addicted to your six-pack or your net worth. They become addicted to the energy you carry, and that energy, your internal state, is the silent language women feel long before they ever hear you speak. Here's what most men get wrong. They think attraction is built through external effort, buying gifts, planning perfect dates, showing off success. But women aren't wired like that. They're emotional barometers. They pick up on subtle cues. Your confidence when you're silent, your calm under pressure, your indifference to validation. These are the real hooks. It's why a guy who lives in a one-bedroom apartment, works a modest job, and isn't conventionally handsome can still have women obsess over him. Because his energy is powerful. He's not performing, he's not proving, he's being. Think about it. When you're around someone who's fully centered, who isn't seeking approval or needing attention, it creates emotional gravity. That's what women orbit around. She becomes curious. Why isn't he trying harder? What does he know that others don't? This curiosity morphs into obsession, not because you did something, but because you didn't. You didn't chase, you didn't flinch, you didn't sell yourself. You simply were. And here's where it gets deep. When you stop trying to earn attraction, you begin to command it, not through effort, but through presence, through stillness, through the self-assurance that says, I don't need to impress you because I already know my worth. That's the foundation of female addiction. It's not about how hard you chase, it's about how grounded you are while the world moves around you. She doesn't get addicted to your actions, she gets addicted to how she feels in your presence, and if that feeling is calm, curious, slightly challenged, but safe, you've just become unforgettable. So before you invest in another watch or rehearse another pickup line, ask yourself this: what energy do I bring into a room? Because that, not your resume, is what women will remember long after you're gone. 2. Sexual market value is a feeling, not a fact. Let's dismantle one of the most misunderstood concepts in attraction: sexual market value. Most men believe it's based on tangible metrics. Income, looks, height, social proof. But for women, it's not about facts, it's about feeling, and feelings can't be measured, they're perceived. Imagine this. 2 men walk into a room. One is dressed head to toe in designer brands, drives a luxury car, and carries himself with visible pride. The other is wearing a plain t-shirt, jeans, and doesn't say much. But when someone makes a sharp comment, the second man responds with calm humor, completely unbothered, self-assured. Guess which man the women start watching? Here's the twist. He didn't try, he didn't posture, his value wasn't screamed, it was felt. Sexual market value to a woman is internalized through moments like these, not through facts, but through subconscious interpretation. A woman doesn't say, he has a yacht, so I like him. Instead, she thinks, why does this man make me feel calm, intrigued, excited, like I'm the one who has to prove myself? And this leads us to a dangerous misconception. Trying to look high value will never feel high value. If you believe you're below her, no amount of success can fix the internal signal you're broadcasting, because women have evolved to detect confidence, not the Instagram version, but the deeply rooted, non-needy, emotionally composed kind. This is why the man with fewer material assets can still win her heart. He doesn't seek to convince her. He lets her discover his value slowly, mysteriously, naturally. The problem most men face is they tie their confidence to results. When they make money, they feel good. When she responds to a text, they feel worthy. This dependence is felt, and it makes women pull away, not closer. True sexual market value is when a man doesn't care how he ranks. He just knows he's enough. Not from arrogance, but from peace. And in that state, she stops evaluating and starts craving. So remember, your value isn't based on how much you have. It's based on how deeply you own who you are. She doesn't fall in love with your resume. She falls in love with how you make her feel, and that feeling is born from your self-perception. Prior 3, the frame of value, above me or below me. Here's a reality few men understand. Every woman instinctively places you in one of 2 mental categories the moment she meets you, above me or below me. Not based on your achievements, not based on how much money you have, but on how you carry yourself. It's not even a conscious process. It happens instantly through body language, tone, energy, and vibe. And once you're categorized, it's very hard to shift. When you walk into a room trying to impress her by complimenting her too much, laughing too hard at her jokes, over-explaining your worth, she doesn't see you as confident. She sees you as trying to earn her approval. In her subconscious mind, this reads as below me. But the man who walks in, calm, composed, not emotionally invested in winning her attention, he instantly enters the above me category, not because he's arrogant, but because he doesn't need her. He's complete within himself. He doesn't try to perform. He simply exists in his truth. And that's the kind of man she becomes addicted to. This is the paradox. The more effort you exert trying to be liked, the more likely she is to lose interest. Why? Because attraction is based on perceived value, and the act of seeking approval always lowers your perceived value. But the man who values himself first, who doesn't try to be chosen but allows himself to be discovered, triggers something primal in a woman. She wonders, why doesn't he need me? What makes him so sure of himself? What does he know that I don't? That curiosity becomes emotional investment, and investment breeds addiction. You see, when a woman places you above her in value, she starts working for you. She starts overthinking your messages. She talks about you to her friends. She starts imagining a future with you. And all of this happens without you doing much at all. Why? Because you didn't seek approval. You didn't give her the emotional power to decide your worth. The frame of value is everything. It's not just about first impressions. It affects the entire relationship dynamic. When she sees you as above her, she respects you, desires you, and even fears losing you. But when she sees you as below her, she tolerates you until someone better comes along. So how do you stay in the above me category? Stop chasing, stop proving, start owning, own your voice, own your presence, own your silence. Because once a woman places you in the above me frame, everything changes. That's when the addiction begins, not to your lifestyle, but to your presence. 4. Pre-selection, silent power, not bragging rights. Pre-selection is one of the most misunderstood triggers of female attraction. Most guys think it means showing off their social life, talking about their past relationships, or letting her see them flirt with other women. But true pre-selection isn't loud, it's invisible, it's energetic, and when it's real, it's unstoppable. Here's the truth. Women are drawn to men who are already desired by other women, but not because it's shown off. They're drawn to the confidence that comes from knowing you're wanted. That's the key difference. Think about it. A man who needs to tell a woman, other girls like me, is insecure. He's using others as proof of his value, but the man who says nothing yet walks with ease, who doesn't act thirsty, who doesn't chase, he radiates something far more powerful. He radiates quiet abundance, and women feel that. Real pre-selection is the look in your eyes when you're not worried if she leaves. It's the calmness in your demeanor when she takes hours to reply. It's the nonchalance you carry when she expects a reaction and gets none. Why? Because you have options. Whether you act on them or not doesn't matter. It's the knowing that makes you magnetic. When a woman senses other women are drawn to you without you ever saying it, it activates her competitive instinct. She wonders, what do those women see that I'm missing? That question plants the seed, and once she starts thinking about you when you're not around, her addiction begins. But here's where men fail. They try to fake pre-selection. They repost old pictures with girls, name-drop exes, or exaggerate their dating life. But women are intuitive. They feel the difference between real options and fake bravado. And when they catch you faking, it kills attraction instantly. So how do you build true pre-selection? First, by not needing it. Second, by having a life that's already full, with or without her. When you're truly fulfilled, when your emotional needs aren't dependent on her validation, when your attention is hard to earn, that's when she starts working harder to get it. Pre-selection isn't about proving you're desirable, it's about not needing to. It's about becoming the man women compete for, not because you say so, but because you embody it. That kind of silent power, it's rare, and it's addictive. 5. Internal value is magnetic. External value is conditional. Most men spend their entire lives chasing things they believe will make them attractive: muscles, money, luxury. And while these things can grab attention, they rarely hold it. Why? Because external value is fragile. It can be taken away, lost, or outdone. Internal value, however, that's magnetic, and it can't be faked. Let's break it down. When a woman meets you, she doesn't consciously care about how much you bench press or what car you drive. She may notice it, even admire it, but what really makes her feel addicted is the energy you carry when you don't need those things to feel worthy. It's when you can walk into a room wearing plain clothes and still feel like the king of your world. That kind of confidence, it comes from inside. Internal value is self-assurance. It's the man who knows who he is even when no one's clapping. He doesn't crumble under criticism. He doesn't lose himself when he's praised. He's stable, emotionally, mentally, energetically, and in a world of insecure men hiding behind things, that level of self-possession is irresistible. On the other hand, external value is performance-based. It says, look at what I have so you'll think I'm worthy. But that frame immediately puts the power in her hands. You've made her the judge. And once you start performing, she starts evaluating. And the moment someone comes along with more to show, you lose. But here's the twist. When your self-worth doesn't come from external things, but from internal peace, you become unshakable. Your value doesn't fluctuate based on circumstances. It's stable like a rock in the middle of a storm, and that kind of man is incredibly rare. Women are emotional creatures. They're drawn to what makes them feel something, and nothing makes a woman feel safer, more intrigued, or more captivated than a man who isn't swayed by external pressure, who radiates quiet power without saying a word. So, if you want to become the kind of man women can't get enough of, stop measuring your worth by what you achieve. Start focusing on who you are, cultivate calm, own your flaws, stop performing, because internal value doesn't need to be announced. It's felt, and when a woman feels it deep in her body beyond logic, she doesn't walk away. She leans in, she wants more, and she doesn't even know why. 6. Presence is power. Be where your feet are. Do you want to know one of the rarest traits in men today? Presence. Not the kind where you're physically there, but mentally running through a checklist of what to say next. I'm talking about real, grounded presence. The kind where a woman feels like she's the only thing that exists in your world for that moment. And that kind of presence? It's intoxicating. Most men are mentally scattered. They're stuck in their heads, thinking about how they're coming across, worrying about the outcome, replaying old mistakes, or predicting future failures. And women feel this. It creates disconnection. It feels like you're there, but not with her. But when you're fully present, when you're listening, holding eye contact without tension, letting silence breathe, it creates a space few men are capable of offering. A space where she can relax into her feminine energy, a space where she feels seen, heard, and understood without judgment or expectation. And that's where addiction begins. Because here's the truth, women aren't addicted to men who perform. They're addicted to men who connect, and connection is only possible through presence. When you're present, you're not calculating your next move. You're not trying to appear high value. You're not hunting for results. You're simply being. And ironically, it's in that stillness that your value is fully revealed. Think about the men women chase the hardest. They're not always the loudest, the richest, or the most polished, but they are the ones who make her feel deeply understood even in silence. They're the ones who aren't distracted, who aren't needy, who aren't looking for a reaction. Presence says, I'm enough as I am. Presence says, you can trust me. Presence says, I see you. It doesn't matter how attractive you are physically. If you lack presence, she will feel emotionally starved. But if you have presence, even with average looks, income, or status, she will feel fed in a way she can't explain. Presence is primal. It activates emotional depth, and women become addicted not to the man's possessions, but to the feeling of being fully held in his awareness. So be where your feet are, put your phone down, slow your breath, and realize that the most powerful thing you can offer a woman isn't words or gifts, it's your attention. Undivided, unrushed, unbothered. 7. Masculine-feminine polarity creates deep obsession. One of the deepest truths about female psychology is this: women crave polarity. That magnetic pull between masculine and feminine energy. And when that polarity is strong, it creates an emotional current so powerful, she'll find herself thinking about you at 2 a.m. without knowing why. But most men today have lost touch with their masculine core. They've become reactive, emotionally volatile, and approval-seeking. These are not masculine traits, they're wounded expressions of someone disconnected from their own power. Masculine energy is presence, purpose, stillness, and strength. Feminine energy is flow, emotion, intuition, and receptivity. These aren't genders. They're energetic frequencies. And when you embody grounded masculinity, you create a space for her to fully drop into her feminine. That's when addiction starts. When you lead with certainty, she relaxes. When you stay emotionally composed while she's storming with feelings, she feels safe. When you provide structure, whether it's in conversation, planning, or just the way you hold eye contact, she feels anchored. Most men try to connect with women by mirroring their emotionality. They overshare, overtext, and overvalidate. It doesn't build connection, it kills polarity because now she's in her masculine energy and she resents it. But the man who stays grounded when she tests him, the man who doesn't flinch when she challenges him, that's the man who triggers her feminine desire, and that desire doesn't fade, it intensifies. You don't need to dominate her, you don't need to suppress her, you simply need to contain her energy by anchoring into your own. That's the secret of polarity. It's not about being better, it's about being different and complementary. When she feels your masculine stillness, she doesn't just feel attraction, she feels emotional gravity, the kind that keeps her orbiting your presence long after you've left the room. So cultivate that grounded masculine essence. Be decisive, be calm, be rooted, because in a world where everyone's emotionally unstable, the man who's unshakable is addictive. 8. The power of non-reactivity. Emotional control is king. Here's the final piece, the one that separates the men who merely date women from the men women obsess over. Non-reactivity. Most men are slaves to their emotions. When a woman tests them, they get defensive. When she pulls away, they chase. When she compliments them, they melt. When she criticizes them, they spiral. And this is where the game is lost, because addiction doesn't form when you're reactive. It forms when you remain unmoved. Non-reactivity is the clearest signal of high status and emotional maturity. It tells her, I don't need your praise to feel good, and I don't fear your silence to feel secure. That kind of stability is magnetic and terrifying because now she doesn't have control. She can't manipulate you, she can't predict your reactions, and this makes you mysterious, unreadable, addictive. Most men try to win women over with logic or affection, but women don't get addicted to logic. They get addicted to emotional power, and a man who doesn't flinch emotionally, he has all the power. It's not about being cold or distant, it's about being composed. Your emotional world is yours, not hers to play with. When she insults you, you don't retaliate, you smile. When she's cold, you don't chase, you stay centered. When she gives you affection, you receive it without attachment. This drives women crazy. Not in a manipulative way, but in an instinctual way, because most men crumble under feminine chaos. But the man who stands tall, who doesn't seek control or approval, he becomes unforgettable. So train yourself to be less reactive. Slow your breath. Detach from outcomes. See her emotions as waves you don't have to ride. Because once you become the calm in her storm, she'll come back to you over and over again. Not out of habit, but because your emotional stillness becomes the only place she truly feels safe. So how do women get addicted to men? Not through gifts, not through abs, not through clever texts or strategic silence. They get addicted to energy, to a man who walks in his own truth, to a man who is grounded, present, non-reactive, and complete within himself. If you want her to become obsessed with you, stop chasing her. Start becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to be chased, because once you do, she'll chase you harder than you ever imagined.